Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to the 683rd Township Council meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to announce that Reeve Wise, Councillor Fenwick, and Councillor Woodcock have sent their regrets for the evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the Township YouTube page. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act, all information obtained is considered part of the public record. Can I have confirmation of the agenda? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Wenda, that the agenda for January 20th be adopted as circulated. Can I have a declaration of pecuniary interest, general nature thereof? Seeing none. Open forum, nobody. Nobody's registered for open forum. Presentations, Mr. Bob Barker, Community Foundation for Lennox and Addington, Activity and Strategic Focus. Well, come to the thing.
Great, thank you very much. Deputy Reeve, members of council, my name is Bob Baker. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Foundation for Lennox and Addington, and I'm extremely pleased that you've said yes and I could come and present to you today. I've been presenting to councils over the last year to bring them up to date on what's going on with your community foundation in Lennox and Addington. You can just switch to the next slide, please. We've existed since 1987 with a generous donation from the Hogarth family at that time, and since that time we've grown substantially. We have more than 40 funds that are invested. The way we work is we have over $4.1 million in funds, and the interest of those funds support charities and student awards in perpetuity. So we exist to make our community better. We started out as the Napanee District Community Foundation and expanded our scope and reach about 8 or 9 years ago to fund all of an LNA, which was something we were doing all along, but certainly we wanted to expand that scope and focus on the work that we were actually doing. We're volunteer driven. We have a board of directors. In fact, our board president and chair is here with us today, David Field, who I think most of you know, here as a cheerleading squad for me today. I've been on board for about 1.5 years as the executive director, and our board has done some exceptional work in that time to really build the organization. And I'm going to take you through some of those things that we've been doing. If we could just switch to the next slide, please. So we went through some strategic planning about 1 year ago, and this just summarizes our focus. Our vision is to inspire philanthropy to create transformational change in our community. We're a unique organization in that we fund all different types of charities. And our mission is focusing on connecting, providing, and improving. Connecting donors to the causes that they're passionate about. We work to create funds with individuals and families and businesses so that they can have a fund that supports the type of cause that's important to them or that has impacted their life. And then in turn, they're providing an ever-growing resource of charitable support for causes through the endowment that I mentioned that we're building. And ultimately, at the end of it all, improving the lives of everyone who lives in LNA. Next slide, please. We support every type of charity, as I mentioned. Arts, sports, health, seniors, every aspect, and that's what makes us a little bit different. We're more of a mature charity where we're not focused on selling tickets or having garage sales, but working with communities to build our fund. We've supported organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, Morning Star Mission, Hospice, Sandy Pines, just a small list of the many dozens and dozens we've supported. And if you take a look at our website, you can actually see over the years the depth and breadth of organizations that we've been able to support. Next slide, please. So the next question comes, so how does it work? So you have this $4 million+ fund, which generates somewhere in the area of $200,000 a year to support community causes, a little more than that. There's a number of ways that we work, and this certainly isn't the easiest forum to get into those details, but I'll certainly give you a 30,000 point of view. Our general community fund is what we're best known for, and in fact, we have a deadline of this Wednesday, January 22nd, to receive our general community fund, applications for programs and charities in LNA. Charities apply to us on our website for funding, and our volunteer committee makes decisions on how to distribute around $100,000 to community groups. The money for that comes from the pool that I talked about of $4 million, where the donors have actually set up their funds and they've said, look, you decide what the priorities are, you look at the applications, we're good with that. And that's the way a lot of our funds work. And also our general funds support student awards. A lot of people don't know, we gave out around $77,000 in student awards and bursaries last year to students in LNA, and we'll be doing the same again this June. Donor-directed funds are where a donor sets up a fund and they say, I want my dollars to be invested in your endowment in perpetuity, but I want to support these specific charities. And they can change their minds as the years go on. They might say they want to fund cancer care 1 year, and then it could be animal rescue or whatever. So donor-directed funds are a great way that we've seen growth in our organization, because donors can be rest assured that their funds will be well managed, but at the same time they can support those things in perpetuity, and it lives long even after they're gone, to support the funds that they want. And then we have our field of interest or donor designated. So that's rather than saying I want to support this charity, a fund holder or donor can say, this is my area of interest: poverty, health care, any kind of social services. And we also have created our field of interest funds. This was created after a community consultation in 2019 called Vital Signs. And if we can go to the next slide, we actually identified 3 priorities, and our board feels that these are still key priorities of the community in the areas of good health and well-being, environmental action, and no poverty. In fact, we have 3 specific funds for each of these areas in which individuals in the community, if they choose to consider us and support us at all, they can actually designate it toward one of these essential funds. Go to the next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned, we did some strategic planning this past year, a year ago, and came up with 4 strategic directions, and I'll take a brief moment to dive into each one of them. One focusing on impact, one on community collaboration, another with philanthropy, and finally governance. Go to the next slide, please. Impact. As I mentioned, we granted over $180,000 this past year, and we'll do something in the similar area again this year through our programs. The board had a serious discussion about what is big impact. Well, wouldn't it be wonderful if we got to a point where we were granting $500,000 a year? So we are striving to build our endowment, to build community engagement, to be able to get ourselves to a point where we can grant on an annual basis $500,000 a year to charitable organizations and projects that support important initiatives in LNA. So that could mean charities that are in LNA specific, but the charity doesn't have to be in LNA so long as the program and service is being offered in LNA. For instance, we've given money to Diabetes Canada in the past to send children from this county to their Camp Huronda. We've been able to bring scientists in schools and Mothers Against Drunk Driving into schools, to all types of schools here in LNA through our funding. So any funding we do doesn't go outside of the county. It stays here, it stays and supports what is going to happen here and people of all ages. So 500,000 is where we want to get to in our granting because we are a granting organization. Community collaboration is the next one. Engaging the community to raise awareness of and access to our programs. So this is part of that, my presenting to you tonight, and we've hosted events in the past where one in Napanee, and we hope to do something again similar where we invite people to learn about our organization. Largely, we're a high-touch organization where it's one-to-one meetings so people can learn more about what it is we do and how they, if they're so inclined, may be able to help us to build a family fund. So just building awareness is something that's important for us. Next slide. Philanthropy, engaging donors as community builders with a vision and desire to invest in the community needs that align with their philanthropic vision. So as I'd mentioned earlier, we're unique because we match individuals with the causes that are important to them. And for people to know that we exist, and that, that's my only ask here of you tonight. I'm not here to ask you for money. I'm here to ask you to talk about us. Let people know that we exist. You have the brochure in front of you, our numbers and so on. We just want you, as on the soapbox you have as elected officials, to be able to say, hey, have you heard about this opportunity to get funding or something you may want to support yourself? That's really what's important to us, is building a philanthropic culture in the community so people can do more and more and more to help the community foundation and their community in particular. Governance. You can't really do all the things we want to do unless you have a strong model of governance, and I'm happy to say we do. I came on board a year and a half ago with a strong and solid board, and we continue to have a strong and solid board, who are focused on making sure that we have the policies in place that we need to have. Our bylaws are up to snuff and where they need to be, which they are, and we can build from that so that our board and staff can focus on fulfilling these other things, granting more, building the endowment. That's really what it's all about for us. And just to summarize, we're a community builder strengthening our community. We're community inspired, and because of generous donors, we've been able to grant approximately $1.8 million since our founding. I'm hopeful that by the end of this year, that number will have actually hit $2 million, because we're just looking at the numbers and what we're going to be able to grant this year with our deadline coming up on Wednesday. It's an exciting time for our foundation, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have, and I truly appreciate your allowing me to be here tonight.
Anybody, any comments or questions for Mr. Baker? Go ahead, Wendy.
Thank you, Mr. Baker, for coming and presenting. I'm well aware of the Community Foundation. My last job, there wasn't a year that we missed putting in a proposal, and you welcomed our request every time. So I was with the Seniors Outreach Services.
Yes,
So.
yes, Seniors Outreach, SOS is a regular
A regular for sure. The question, I guess, you want to get up to $500,000 annually in grants. How many years do you see before you're at that capacity?
Great question. We asked that ourselves at the board retreat, and we didn't set a specific year. It would be nice to be there in 4 or 5 years' time, and how that's going to happen is two ways. People can give to us through flow-through, where they don't endow their money, and we just spend it the year they give it. And so growing that particular area, because sometimes people come to us and they say, to build a $10,000 fund is a lot of work. It's actually really not. Actually, one of our board members says, think big, start small. But so flow-throughs is one way we're going to get there. And it seems in the time I've been here, and David and I have had a number of meetings, it takes time, but there is a lot of interest from families and are thinking about it, building funds. And I hope we can get there in 10 years. I mean, it's a $10 million endowment would generate $500,000 a year. So we actually thought we'd talk about the result rather than we want 10 million, so what? No, actually we want to grant 500,000 a year, and however we can get there, we'll get there. But no, we don't have a timeline.
Just one more. I know you used to get a lot of applications each year. Are you still getting a lot? Are people still?
Yes. As of today, we have our deadline on Wednesday. As of today, it's 21 or 22 applications, which is surprising because I think we had 26 or 27 last year. but about 15 of them came in the last day. So it could be a record year. The good and the bad of raising profile. We've raised our profile substantially over the past year, and I guess the good news is more charities. That's what we're all about. More charities are coming to us and asking for funds, or projects are popping up. So that's good news. And I think once we've demonstrated that we're supporting more charities, maybe others will want to be more inclined to support those charities too. Thank you.
Recommendation that the report entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application 207-2024 be received, and that the council approve the application to rezone the subject property, and that the bylaw 25 be a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2014-744, Township of Stone Mill zoning bylaw, zone change from rural RU zone to Hamlet residential HIR at dash H, in conjunction with the holding symbol, to be enacted and passed by the Reeve, and the clerk can be authorized to sign and seal. Planning report 207-2024. Is Jason doing that one? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Davison. The report, I think, is fairly comprehensive to rezone this property that was subject to a severance application. I don't have anything further to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions that any member of council may have.
Jason, I was just wondering, there's an H on it, a hold on it, because they have to look at Kart's topography possibilities and a few other things before they can go ahead and do whatever it is, the site development. Do you know what the intention is? It's a fairly large piece of property. Do you know what they're intending to do there if all their boxes get ticked positively? Are you able to answer that?
Through you, Mr. Davison, it's a great question, Councilor Lalonde. I don't know the full vision for the property. The original request was made to the township to subdivide this corner so that they could sell the retained 85-acre parcel, so the farm and the remaining portion of the property has been sold, and retain this northwest corner of the property. You're 100% accurate in the fact that a 7.7 acre property in the village boundary or the hamlet boundary is quite large, but understanding where the extent of karst and how that will influence positively or negatively developable envelopes is to be determined. So I think multiple dwelling units or further subdivision of land into additional lots for greater density that would be more aligned to our official plan policies is maybe the overarching goal, but it's yet to be determined until that further investigative work is done from a natural hazards point of view.
Any other questions for Jason? Seeing none? Do that again.
Thank you, and through you, this application for zoning bylaw amendments related to a severance application that proposes to increase the size of an undersized waterfront parcel. The zoning bylaw amendments to harmonize the existing zoning so that there's the lack of a split zone, which causes challenges in future interpretations of both members of the public and staff. So the RLS zone would be brought across the entirety of that property that has an amended parcel configuration from what once it had before. So there's nothing, no development proposed. There's nothing significant in this other than cleaning it up from a zoning perspective. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns for Jason? Eight point three, Newburgh Firefighters Association, request for exemption of a special events permit. Recommendation reads that the report entitled Newburgh Firefighters Association Request for Exemption of Special Permit and request from the Newburgh Firefighters Association be received, and that council approve the exemption request from the Newburgh Firefighters Association. Newburgh Firefighters Association request for exemption of special event permit, SR-0106. Anybody going to speak on behalf of this? Okay, any questions for staff?
Trying to beat John's record.
8.5, compensation report. Recommendation, the report entitled 20, no, did I go too far? Eight. 8.4, sorry, I skipped one. Okay. Recommendation, the council update the direction of staff regarding the 2021 Stone Mills Township Budget Compensation Report. And that one, the staff be directed to include the $150 part-time employee benefit in the 2025 budget preparation as an operational expense rather than continuing to draw from the clerical reserve fund. And two, that upon approval of the 2025 budget, the $150 part-time employee benefit be paid to eligible employees as a final one-time payment. And three, that staff be directed to develop and implement an updated employee expense policy addressing clothing, footwear, etc., or other work-related items for eligible part-time employees, landfill, parks and recreation, seasonal student employees, to be included in future budget preparations beginning in 26. Clarification of employee benefits, motion SR 0107. Anybody want to speak on this behalf?
Through you, Deputy Reeve Davison. Yeah, the report does a good job of explaining that the original motion, which was a comprehensive set of measures around compensation in various forms, may have been misinterpreted or misimplemented, and that the $150 that was being provided to staff, part-time staff, was also coming out of the Clerica Reserve Fund, as it was a motion that came immediately after that initial motion. But after reviewing it, the way it was written and our practice, we wanted to ensure that we came back to council and made sure that we actually interpreted the original intent of council and updated our procedures accordingly, so that one, we weren't drawing down the Clerica Reserve Fund faster than anticipated, and two, that there was a long-term plan for the $150 benefit that's being provided to part-time employees continued as directed by council beyond the depletion of the Clerica Reserve Fund, as these were two separate initiatives.
On that for the staff? All in favor, carried. Sorry. You had a question?
A point of clarification. So we're making a motion to receive this report, but does that automatically assume that we're making a motion to approve the
No, just
recommendation?
receiving it for budget purposes.
No, this is a recommendation to change our process.
Okay, yes, it does,
Yeah.
sorry.
So,
sorry.
and the same with item 8.3 about the firefighters. We made a motion to receive the report, but that would also infer that we were making a motion to approve the recommendation?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. All I heard was the word receive, and I thought, I think we're approving it.
I may
too.
have left it out when I talking,
Okay, no, that's fine.
okay? So we want to receive this and approve it. Okay, and we did that, and all in favor? Ever was putting, okay? Okay, 8.5. Report entitled the 2025 compensation report be received, and that the 2025 preliminary budget be developed based upon a 3% economic increase to the salary structure and movement for eligible staff effective for the first pay of the 2025 season, and that a final decision regarding the economic increase to salary structure and grid movement for eligible employees be finalized when the township has conducted the review and confirmation of the 2025 budget. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this report? Hearing none, can I have a motion to move and approve? Moved by Wenda, seconded by Sherry. All in favor? Carried. We're in the consent, 9, the consent agenda. Is there anything in the consent agenda that people would like to have pull out for discussion? Seeing none, can I have a motion as mover to accept the, and receive all that agenda? Sherry, seconded by Wendy. All in favor? Carried. Yes,
I just wanted to thank Jake very much for his report, or maybe that's what you're coming to speak about, I don't know. The report about the developmental services activity. Just wanted to thank him for that. That was very interesting.
yeah, okay. Go ahead, Jake.
Usually work with other development staff to tidy up just what the planning department looked like, how many severances, zoning amendments, minor variances, that sort of thing, went on in the previous year. So this is just kind of something that I do every January. Just happy to take questions on kind of this report.
Questions for Jake? It was a good report. Seeing no questions, Jake, you got off light. Where am I? Okay, sorry. Yep. Notice of motion, direct motion means that a motion to be considered items which are due to the time constraints require the immediate attention of council and may not be introduced with the consent of the majority, may be introduced, sorry, with the consent of the majority. Does anybody have a direct motion? Wenda, sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to this notice of motion. I haven't done a whole lot over the last 11 years, so I'd like to make a notice of motion for consideration to be given to the purchase of a bench to be placed down in the conservation area in Newburgh with a plaque on it for Rick Doyle, who was instrumental in ensuring that there was a skating pad there for years and years and years. This was actually an idea that was brought to me by my grandson, who's been skating on that pond pretty much every night since we've had ice, and he is so impressed with the amount of work that Rick had done over the years, and also the amount of work that's now being taken on by a variety of individuals. So he just thought it would be nice, and so I think I just have to make a notice of motion that I'd like to bring that forward at our next meeting. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Lalonde. Yes, so your notice of motion is that you are going to be giving staff direction at looking at installing a bench in the Newburgh Park can you just repeat who it was for, please?
Is there any announcements? Seeing none? There's no closed meeting, confirmation bylaw. That a bylaw 2025X be confirmed with the proceedings of the Council of Stone Mills Township be enacted and passed, and that the Reeve Clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Confirmation. Can I have a confirmation bylaw? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Wendy. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Can I have adjournment? Motion to adjourn? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Wenda. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.